Hey, and welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know this is the official podcast of GeoWoodstock 18 right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Each week, we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're planning day trips over the mountain passes, you know they're open now. We'll be caching in the Northwest.
I think they're always open for the most part. Well, some of them, yes, some no. Anyway, of course, it's time to bring in our canoeing Capuchin. Some say he spends his free time searching for the Loch Ness monster. Others say Canadian geese follow him home. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hi.
Hi. What do you do with all those geese?
I was going to say, I don't think I want to know what you do with the geese, because from what my understanding is, you told me once that Canadians funnel all their anger into the geese and send them to the U.S. So a bunch of anger-filled geese, I don't want them to come to my home.
Actually, I was going to focus more on the earlier part of that and say I actually, in fact, found the Loch Ness monster yesterday. So.
Oh, well.
Did you really?
I literally did. And I am using the word literally correctly.
Find the
Loch Ness monster yesterday.
Was it in Loch Ness or was it on holiday?
It was on holiday.
Okay.
In Abbotsford. So
that's why they can't find it in Loch Ness.
That's right.
That buddy, he gets around, or she gets around.
Some good things happen.
Nessie.
Yeah. Some good things happen in Abbotsford, I hear. Some good things will happen.
And will happen soon.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. Hey, speaking of things I'm looking forward to, I've been looking forward all week to not only seeing my friends Chris and Jim, but seeing Sandra again. Sandra, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be back. We've had a few visits, haven't we? So it's good to come back and talk about something slightly different, but with a similar message.
Absolutely. Yes. Sandra was telling us before the podcast started that she's a returning guest, and so she knows what to expect and how to manage the three of us. So that's good. Somebody needs to.
Somebody.
Anyways, yes, we are definitely going to be talking about everything you, good listener, should know before you head out on your next paddle adventure. And we're very excited to learn about that with you, Sandra.
Yeah, because we've been doing this thing a little while. You know, I don't know how many episodes this has been now, but it's quite a few.
Quite a few episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Subtle, very subtle. That works really well in the audio too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone got that.
You're very clean, Jim.
Yeah.
At least it was clean humor. Yeah, that's
Yes.
true. All right. Well, speaking of clean humor, we want to throw out a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons, all of you who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And a special thanks to Land Sharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. If you're planning a paddling adventure in BC or beyond, make sure to check out the Backroads map books on sale from landsharks.ca online or in store. And hey, we've got a special announcement that fits into this very part of the show.
Ooh.
Starting this week, we have a new corporate Denali level sponsor. Did you know? I know. Right? Chris,
what
have you done?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
What's that, Jim?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Are you comfortable? All right. Well, I'll tell you what. It is Gold Country Geotourism. They have joined our esteemed corporate sponsorship level, and we are very thankful to have them as a corporate sponsor. Ooh, confetti and everything. Very exciting.
Huzzah. Oh, let's see. I can do fireworks.
There we go. Fireworks, confetti. What a welcome they get.
Yay.
In coming weeks, they'll have some special messages for you, just like Land Sharks do every week. But for now, we'll just remind you to go visit exploregoldcountry.com to learn more.
And enjoy the vista of Gold Country beyond the Land Monkey's shoulders there.
That's right. So yeah, just for those who don't know, that is actually, we've got the shark swimming through Gold Country there. So there you go.
Well played.
Well, it was I've had that logo for quite a while. It was subtly trying to reinforce with Gold Country that they should be a sponsor, and it worked. So
Okay.
Anyways, hey, if you want to know more about supporting this show, go on over and click that Patreon link on the cashingnw.com website.
And it's time now for the glow. Yes, it's glow time once again. That's the geocaching log of the week. Whether you've read about it or wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. You can send an email or recording to feedback@cashingnw.com. You can also call into 253-693-TFTC and show us how you glow.
Yes, this was subtle. Yeah, last time I perused the show notes, there was no glow here. So I'll have to just look at this, see what it says here. It says, we were initially distracted due to huge flooding of the area. A creek was flowing across the road. It's not usually a good thing. An object caught our eye on the fence to the east, but after some attempts to open it, decided it was not the cache. Groovy Owl suggested we return when the water subsides, but nope. This was now a challenge. All I needed to do was make a leap across the torrent of water onto the top of a concrete barricade that was covered in blackberry brambles. From there, I could carefully step along the barricade while pulling thorns from my thighs to where I could climb onto the concrete block, also covered in brambles. At least it was flat on top. Then it was an easy shimmy across the steel fence and onto land on the other side.
This sounds like a smart adventure.
Yeah.
I can't see what would go wrong with this.
Yeah. Unless they didn't, fill out where they were going and tell somebody else,
Well,
because
yeah,
this is one of those situations you really need the AdventureSmart app.
There you go.
Wow. Well, they completed and said, did a little CTO over there while a resident stopped by to pick up their mail, shaking their head. I finally tried the spot I'd been eyeing all the while and retrieved the cache. Huh, easy as that. It was logged by Professor P on GC 9197A. HTTP East 2. I don't know what HTTP stands for in this context, but
Hypertext protocol?
sure.
Yeah, but it's only one T.
Yeah, well, it's not transfer protocol.
Oh, okay.
Hold the phone.
Hey, folks.
Hold the phone. That's what it stands for.
Hold the phone.
Nice one, Joe.
There you go.
Oh, boy. Maybe you don't want to do that, going across the river and digging blackberry thorns out of your thighs and shimmying
Or
along
living in a van down by the river.
And if the creek overflows, we could all be living in a van down by the river.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. If you want to add to tonight's chat, use the hashtag paddle in tonight's show. And of course, you can always use the hashtag FATAS to bring something up for the after show.
Paddle.
And-
So just remember your elementary school principal.
Exactly.
Yeah. HTTP. Hold the paddle.
Hold the that was my plead to the principal. Please hold the paddle.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore, and look where we are.
But they don't restrain the paddle anymore?
No, well,
Well,
no, it's kind of not. Well, I don't know. I'm not going there.
Expression, spare the rod?
Yes. Hey, take a look at Wit's End.
Not
Everybody
me. Not me. Look over there next to me.
Oh, he has
Yeah.
a 2021 glow badge. Wouldn't you like one too? All you have to do is send in a glow, and you wonder, I got this log. I don't know if it's glow worthy or not. Here's a little tip. Are you ready?
What?
They're all glow worthy. Yeah. Just send one in.
Even
And
those
we'll
ones
send-
that say TFTC?
Yeah.
Yeah. Careful what you ask
Send those
for.
in.
Maybe not those ones.
And when you do, make sure you put the casher's handle on there and we'll make fun of them.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, and also in news this week, it's 20 years of the APE project or Project APE. 20 years ago this month, the geocaching community learned of Project APE, a promotion sponsored by 20th Century Fox that aimed to generate interest for their summer blockbuster movie, Planet of the Apes. And their target audience, geocachers. You can read about it in this week's blog at geocaching.com.
There you go.
A good read it is.
And how many ape caches are left?
I believe there are 2.
There's 2 out of the original 18.
I don't remember the
I
original
don't think
number.
it was that
but
high. I want to say it was like 14.
14.
I do remember that they had original movie props in them, as I recall.
Yeah.
So that's
There's been a
cool.
few movies where they've had original props circulate out. They did that most recently was The Revenant.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I actually for a brief period had the satchel, the bear fur satchel that was
There you
used
go.
as a prop.
That was probably a better experience than watching the movie, from what I've heard.
I full disclosure, have never seen the movie, but
Nor have I, but from what I've heard, just holding onto the satchel was probably a better experience. I don't recall it doing so well.
I got that satchel from Sprouter, and I think I passed it on to you, Land Monkey.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Nice. I don't think I ever saw it. Maybe I did. I don't know. Doesn't stand out. In any case, let's get back to tonight's topic with hashtag paddle for the chat, and we're going to welcome Sandra back to CNW. We hope the winter and spring seasons have been good to you. Summer's coming right around the corner, and hope AdventureSmart's doing well. Are there any trends or updates going on in the past few months that'd be good for our listeners to be aware of?
Well, a lot's happened since I saw you guys last and we chatted. We've had a season and a half or a couple seasons. We had a busy summer last year. Actually, we had a 30% increase in search and rescue call volume in the province of British Columbia. And then throughout the winter, we focused mainly based on data-driven insights. We really focused on snowmobilers. Really wanted to increase their awareness, have that engagement with them, because we know that they're the highest call volume user group that search and rescue respond to. So winter was focused on that, primarily in the East Kootenays of our province. And so that was a fun way to spend the winter, with some other outdoor education that was happening all along the way on social media, traditional media, podcasts. It was good. And we jumped into spring with both feet, ready to hit summer with some special events. Some of them include the PaddleSmart program that we're going to talk about. And lots going on with partnerships and working with provincial parks and national parks. Yeah, I could go on, but that's the short version. There's the Coles Notes version.
Yeah, snowmobiling seems like a very seasonal activity.
I yeah, a little bit.
Never done it. I don't know, but just gonna have a hunch it's seasonal.
Yeah, I am kind of curious. There's been a lot of stories, and maybe it's just the areas of media and social media that I happen to follow, but it feels like this past spring there have been a lot of search and rescue callouts, and not just North Shore where there always is, but even like I've seen a lot in the Comox, SAR, and in a lot of areas. Are the numbers up this spring?
Yeah, so we saw a 30% increase last summer. So on an average, I'll share again with your guests, we normally have about 1,700 search and rescue calls in BC every year. Last year we had over 2,000. Over the winter we had an increase as well, and the trends are still headed in that direction. So you're right, Jay. There's been a lot that's been going on with other groups that are usually not in the news, if you will, and in that forefront. So, we're an active, healthy province. We're an active, healthy country for outdoor recreation, and a lot of people love to play outside. And what's happened over the last year, amongst a million things to all of us, is our health officials have encouraged us to go outside. It's a safer space to be in. And everybody listened in a roundabout way. And so there was an increase in outdoor recreation. There was an increase in getting back into paddling or biking or skiing throughout the winter. Let's try snowmobiling. And so that they were listening to our health officials. And it was a trend that definitely took off, and it's continuing. People either like to get back into it or started something new and think, hey, this is awesome. It's great physically, it's great mentally. I'm outside, it is safer, COVID-wise. So there's a lot at play, but you're right, the increase is still there. And we kind of envision and forecast that the summer will be the same until things really, pandemic-wise, settle, if you will, and then we'll see what happens. But that the search and rescue call volume continues to go up. So if we can reduce the severity of calls, then we're still succeeding.
All right. So maybe on that note, I will remind anybody who's listening live, pass the link for this show on to your friends, even if they can't join us tonight. This is getting recorded, and we're going to cover some really good stuff that everybody should know before they head out. So, if you're watching live, if you're watching it recorded, pass the link on to somebody else who you care about and you want to make sure they get home safe. All right. So after that public service announcement, we are primarily going to talk about safe paddling. I mean, kayaking and canoeing safely. Just to be clear about what we're talking about here. It does seem like it could be a complex topic to unpack, just whole boating safety. But maybe we can start with some data about why being PaddleSmart is so important.
It's a biggie. We have a lot of easily accessible water throughout our country and in British Columbia, where I'm based. And that easy access can often give that user group a false sense of security. And, then they might just jump in that canoe or rent the canoe or borrow a non-motorized vessel, if it's a stand-up paddleboard, if it's a canoe, or if it's a kayak. And there's a way to get on the water to maybe get back into fishing or try fishing or just paddle because they saw it on social media. And that easy access does give a false sense of security. And that means that the unaware paddler isn't really informed on what they need to do before they hit the water, while they're on the water, in case there's an emergency. And then even after, to discuss about risk management. There's so many little avenues to go down in relation to that outdoor activity. So I think that's a biggie. I really do. We have coastal waters that we get to play in. We have rivers. We have swift water. We have inland waters. We have beautiful lakes. Like, the list goes on, and a lot of it's accessible throughout the province. Doesn't matter if you're on the south coast where the density is high, up in the north where it's much less, but there's beautiful waterways. It's an important piece to think about. And our message, no matter if you're a paddler on any of those three, or if you're a hiker, our main message is the same. And if I get a chance, I'll talk about our 3 T's, because it does apply to paddling as well as land activities.
Oh yeah, by all means, you can cover the 3 T's anytime you like, because this is a beautiful part of the world with a lot of great waterways. And the 3 T's certainly, I assume, apply to paddling as well as everything else. And probably, I bet you could add some other critical factors to consider and think about there.
Yeah, and so we want you to start with that 3T system, and then there is a lot more. You're right. So make a plan for your adventure. That sits down and researching where you're going, what type of water are you about to paddle on, who's going with you, can they even paddle? Does everyone have a fitted life jacket? Is it fitted properly for the size of you? If there's young people in your family or your canoe, let's say, is their life jacket fitted properly, especially for children? Is the strap properly through their legs? Is it supporting their neck? Is it really fitted to their size, right? It's not just one we found in the garage that happens to be dusted off and a couple spiders ran away, and then we just kind of try to get it on, and maybe the buckle just fits, but I can't do the zipper. Doesn't work. So you're making that plan, and you're leaving all those details with a trusted emergency contact. You can do that at AdventureSmart's Trip Plan app. Super easy. Do you have the training for the activity that you're doing? Do you know how to paddle? Do you know what a J stroke even is? Do you know how to manage your vessel properly? Can you control your canoe? Can you control your stand-up paddleboard or your kayak in the water that you're in? That's key. Is it moving? Is it still? And then taking those essentials with you and making sure that you're having your basics with you. And then you add to it season and sport specific. Do you have a buoyant heaving line? Do you have a waterproof flashlight? Do you have a map and navigation for charts for the water you're on? So there's seasonal additions as well.
Wow. I mean, going through the 3 T's fits for every season, but as the weather's warming up here, the water's not as cold as it was during winter or early spring. Is hypothermia really something we need to worry about as the water warms? The
water doesn't warm enough to really make it feel like you're jumping into anything other than like maybe a bath or a hot tub or a pool at the rec center. Our Pacific Ocean, relatively, for lack of the actual temperature, doesn't have a huge change in that temperature. The air temperature changes. We change based on the season, but that roughly stays the same. So that effect of getting into that water is different for you based on that season as well, right? So I have a chance to warm up and heat myself up again more efficiently in the summertime when it's warmer out than if I decide to go for a dip or fall in mid-January. It's a different effect in how quickly I can warm up my fingers and my limbs and my core based on the season that will help me do that or not. So that cold water immersion is how we like to describe it, is something to really consider, and knowing what that can do to you and how it affects you. And people think it's exciting to go jump in an alpine lake and a glacier fed water. And I'm not saying it's not doable. And if you're prepared for it, and there's some practices that include that, but you have to understand what you're getting into, how to manage your breathing, and how to understand how it affects you internally, externally. And so the effects of hypothermia are there. And I think that gets dismissed as the seasons come in through spring and summer. We think, oh, finally, the sun's here. It's great. We can head to the beach, to go to the lake, go for a paddle, whatever it is. Because it's summertime, we think mentally, boom, we're going to be warm. It's not always the case. I'm sure, and I've heard stories from search and rescue, that they find that more people are just nonchalant about the effects of hypothermia in the spring and summer. So if they gain elevation for a hike, they sort of forget that there still might be snow, and it's 10 degrees cooler up there for every 1,000 meters you gain in elevation, let alone if you fall in the water and there's that cold water shock effect. So it can't be dismissed, the hypothermia, for sure, any time of the year.
That's an interesting rule of thumb you just used, 10 degrees for every 1,000 meters. I just out of personal observation had a rule that I've always run in the back of my mind of 6 degrees for every 1,000 meters or so. More so, I've kind of just gauged it from having worked up on the North Shore Mountains, that it was like, okay, if I'm down in the Fraser Valley and, it's going to be 6 degrees or so colder up where I have to go work. So
Yeah.
But
that's exactly what I would do too. When I was a park ranger, I would live down here in North Van and then go up to work at about, any of the local North Shore Mountains elevation. And I would use the 6 number, 6 or 7. I've taught my kids the same thing. And I would always test them in the car. So, do you think it's snowing up there? And it's 6 degrees down here. And they're like, yeah, Mom, we know. My 10 degrees versus 1,000 meters analogy is based on clear conditions. So clear sky, so there's factors in that, as you know. So if it's wintertime and it's cloudy and snowing and it's 6 down here at sea level, ocean, definitely it's snowing. You and I know that for sure from experience. But on a clear day, we can take into that factor of 10 degrees per 1,000 meters.
Wow.
I like the 6 degrees rule because then Kevin Bacon comes to help you out. I think that's how that works. And
exactly how that works.
Anytime bacon is involved, I'm in. So that's different. Never mind. But you're right. Cold water doesn't matter what time of year. It's been on the news. I work at a news station, and we've done stories recently on, hey, just because it's sunny and warm out and you want to get out and enjoy yourself, that water's still cold. And sadly, we've reported on some tragedies just recently of people getting out and not taking proper precautions. And I'm not saying, I don't know these stories in particular, but some of those may have even involved drugs or alcohol, because that's a thing people do. They think, well, it's just a kayak. It's just a canoe. It's not like I'm driving. That's not as dangerous, right?
Good question. That's pointed to me. I understood that. Good. Yeah, that is something to consider. There's no question that a lot of people think summertime, sunshine, sunglasses, beer, boat, let's go hang out and have a good time, beach, whatever that equation is. And there's a lot of first responders and life-saving organizations and outdoor rec and risk management that would love to counter that, because they're the ones that are responding. to incidents. If it's whatever injury, if it's people have exceeded their abilities, or if they've been skewed by any intoxication, that that needs to be considered, and considering everybody else around you as well. And I always go back to, in British Columbia, we've got 2,500 search and rescue volunteers, and I always ask outdoor enthusiasts to take them into consideration before they go for their paddle, hike, snowmobile. And I say that so that they can think, oh, if something happens, a volunteer is leaving their friends, their family, their children's birthday, Christmas dinner, a family occasion, work, to come and help me because of maybe a mistake that I could have avoided, or an incident that could have been reduced in severity or avoided at all.
Yeah, that's
the
huge
consideration is a big one.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want take volunteers away from their family and fun times to come me because I did something stupid. I'd just rather say, you know what, just leave me here. It's fine. You stay home and enjoy yourself. I don't deserve to get rescued.
Well, it doesn't work that way either, but
Well, that's the way I feel.
Well, we want you to call, on behalf of the 2,500 volunteers. It's really important that you do phone, and the number's 911, and there's no charge, and you don't need insurance. So, remember that. And this has come up before, where people would hesitate to phone. They would phone family members instead of phoning 911 first. And that last description or scenario is proved fatal, unfortunately, because they did phone family first. Yeah. And they didn't put in the process of getting found safely, quickly through emergency services. So phoning, even if they end up you coming out on your own, they would rather be like, okay, we're standing you down, than you delay your call.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's sad. We've had a few fatalities in the past year because exactly that, because people thought, well, I'm going to call my boyfriend or my family or whatever instead, and hasn't ended well at all. So yeah, we definitely need to encourage people. If you're in trouble, call. You'll get the help you need. But if you do a little planning and listen to Sandra, well, then you might not even need to call. So there you go.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, Sandra, in the past, you have done AdventureSmart and trip planning, and the 3 T's. You've done presentations on these. Are there any presentations you're doing about PaddleSmart and what can help paddlers survive until help can arrive?
Yes, good question. So we rotate through our curriculum. We've got a Hug a Tree and Survive program, Survive Outside, Snowmobile, Snow Safety, and a PaddleSmart program. And so we rotate through the seasonal programs every week through webinars. And tonight was our children's program. I did that tonight about an hour and a half ago. And June 17th is the next PaddleSmart program. So you can go to our BC AdventureSmart Facebook events page. And all of our weekly webinars are listed right there. Easy registration, which they do require. They're all free. And June 17th is our PaddleSmart program, and we'll jump into the 3 T's. We'll jump into that extra seasonal and sport-specific gear. We'll talk about decision-making, really based on inland waters, coastal, swift water. We'll talk about the 1-10-1 rule, which I can mention. We'll talk about cold water, shoreline activities, communications, risk management, and how do we think in risk, if you will? How do we make those decisions pre, during, and post paddle? And so it jumps into some really great detail. So that's June 17th is our first one. And then they're all listed there. We're going to do a weekly one every Thursday right until September.
Now, is that open to a southern landlubber like myself that, happens to be on the wrong side of the water at the moment? Okay.
You are more than welcome to join us, and anyone is from anywhere, no matter the time zone. And we'll rotate through our Hug a Tree and Survive program, Survive Outside and PaddleSmart, all summer long, with some special events coming up on June 1st, 3rd, 8th, and 10th as well. But they're all listed right there on our Facebook events.
Nice.
Very cool.
And I put that link in the chat for y'all to jump on in. Here is the AdventureSmart website. in case you need that as well. Now you have no excuse. You've got it all there in front of you.
That's right. So go sign up now. Do it. We'll wait.
Yeah, go ahead. Put the podcast on pause. We don't mind. In fact,
Right.
we'll never know.
We'll wait until June 17th. We'll just
Yeah,
sit
I'm
here
thinking
until
so
wait until
long.
you all fill it up.
We're trying to keep a podcast going. Hurry up and click the link. Yeah. All right.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, if we talk a little bit more about the 3 T's, and you were mentioning some of it as you were discussing what gets covered in the PaddleSmart webinar, and you touched on this earlier when we were talking about life jackets, but what essentials would need to be considered for a paddle adventure that would be different than a hike in the woods or the mountains? There's probably more than just life jacket that you need to consider.
Boat.
Boat, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a few extra things. So when we talk about taking the essentials as our third T, that list of gear stays relatively the same. And that includes flashlight, fire making kit, whistle, signaling device, food and water, extra clothes, navigation, communication, first aid kit, emergency shelter, pocket knife, and sunscreen. That's just your basics.
Nailed it.
That's in my.
He's done this before.
A few times. That's in my backpack now in the mudroom as I go for a mountain bike whenever I go, which is pretty regularly. It's still there when I go for a hike with the girls. And then I add to it season and sport specific. So for paddling, we want to make sure that we've got those extra on top of that list that I just gave you, which is at adventuresmart.ca. It's easy. It's also on the app. So when you go to make your plan, we've already listed it for you. You just get to tick off all this stuff as you gather it around your house and add it to your dry bag. So, extra pieces would be that extra layering of clothing, making sure it's synthetic and not cotton. Cotton takes forever to dry, keeps you too cold, can decrease your body temperature. So synthetic layering clothing. Bug spray, that's a biggie. I can't stand, and the bugs love me. I don't like them. It's not a mutual relationship there. So bug spray is a biggie. Sun protection and hat. I know it sounds like we've heard this all along, but the water reflection off the water is pretty strong. And appropriate footwear. So we head to either the rental shop, or we borrow our friend's canoe, or we get all of these items, stand-up paddleboards taking off. So people are like, I'm going to get this and that. And the proper footwear is critical too as you get in and out of the water. Does it still have grip? Does it dry? Or are you paddling with wet feet all the time? So grippy, waterproof, water-resistant, proof footwear. Your life jacket, of course. So if I'm going to have a stand-up paddleboard, I want my arms to be free. So those have more of a front flotation and back with the underneath the armpits are freer to move around. So depending on your choice of vessel would dictate that life jacket. Sound signaling device, that's easy. We all need one of these hanging off the tab of our coat, our life jacket. Depending on how aggressive and competitive you are, maybe you need a helmet to paddle if you're into swift water, or if it's to race. Competitive, paddling, a paddle that floats, obviously. So that's important. The charts to navigate in case you need to navigate on your route, buoyant heaving line, bailer, cold water gear, making sure you're dressed for the weather. That waterproof flashlight. Search and rescue tell us all the time that people could prevent a call from happening if they had just had a really good light source. And that's not your phone, by the way. It's something else, and it has extra batteries. It has great illumination if it's hands-free, so it's a headlamp. So think about that too. An emergency paddle in case one floats away, breaks. You toss it out of anger. I don't know what. You might lose a paddle there. And then a blunt tip knife in case you need to do anything on your boat that would require you to access something, free yourself from your vessel, or anything that might be strapped around your feet or your ankles, depending on the situation. So those are some extra pieces that you would add to it. And then we all have different things that we would love to carry, maybe that are personal. Maybe it's medication that you might need to take. Maybe you have a puffer. Maybe you need to take your meds if you're going out for 5 or 6 hours for a paddle, whatever it is. Your favorite chocolate, that trail mix that you absolutely love. Rice Krispie squares. I don't know what your favorite thing is extra, but those extra personal pieces are important too.
Nice.
Sorry, I was just going to say a great list. One of the things that caught my attention was a blunt tip knife, which I hadn't considered before, but it makes an awful lot of sense when you say it.
Doesn't it just go bing?
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
I've hurt myself too many times then, apparently. Now, Sandra, you've talked about different types of water, right? You've talked about coastal waters, swift waters, lakes. Does the gear that we need to take, those essentials, change during each one of these types of trips?
No, if you think about that list, and it's a valid question, right? If you think, oh, I'm going to travel on this type of water, I should only need that. Or if I'm, I like to take it back to hiking. If I'm only going to hike for 45 minutes after work versus I'm going for 6 hours on the weekend, I don't need that kit. You do. That's the mentality. That's the culture we're trying to get people to think about, so that they are thinking about the what if, so that they are thinking about what if something happens, how do I communicate? What if I get off the shore and slip and trip and my canoe floats away and all I'm able to grab is part of the sleeping bag that happens to come out and I just got it as my boat floats away. And I'm not making up that story. That's a true story that happened within the last couple of weeks. Up the corridor in Squamish, there was a canoer that was stranded. Do you guys know this story? Jay does. Okay, Jay, you can answer. How many hours do you think he was stranded for? And then I'll finish the story.
36.
36. Nice. 96.
Oh, okay.
Oh my.
He was stranded for 96 hours. And, we go back to how we really want you to make that plan and have that communication piece in place. So that, let's say, if you did head out there for solo, which we really encourage people not to, but if they do, that they have that check-in point time, let's say every night at 5. I'm checking in with my emergency contact. However, I'm communicating with them, two-way, probably not my phone, definitely. Another means of communication. Anyway, long story short, 96 hours later, another paddler came by, saw the stranded paddler who had been stranded for 96 hours. That person had a communications device and was able to call out for help. And our CMSAR, Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue, were able to get this other subject back and out safely. But 96 hours is a bit to just hang out with your sleeping bag and unintentionally,
that's a long time.
After everything you had with you floated away.
Yeah, even at overtime pay, that's too many hours.
It is.
That's too much. You were talking about equipment, and it just popped in my head. Is it important to have equipment? Can you just grab any old equipment at the local Five and Dime, or is it important to have something certified? I hear a lot of things about, in the U.S., it's the U.S. Coast Guard. I assume Canada has a Coast Guard or a similar equivalent. I don't know if they call it the Coast Guard, or they probably have a much better name. Is it good to have Coast Guard certified equipment, or just any old equipment will do? I assume
for a life jacket,
some is better than none. But
well, if you think about it, the right helmet is what you want versus just not the right helmet for the activity,
Sure.
And so for paddling, I would like to think that you would have the right life jacket, absolutely 100% certified, so that you are in the best safety situation you can be. So your family, as your children are, you are, and it fits you appropriately to the activity that you're doing. And that's outfitted for you if you rent a vessel. If we go to rent canoes with a family, and there's the right certified life jackets there for us to wear. A personal flotation device that I might purchase if I decided to get into stand-up paddleboarding or kayaking would be fitted properly, and it would be the right one. I'm not purchasing the secondhand. I'm not getting it at the garage sale down the street. It's ripped and torn, and okay, the tether that the kids usually would have strapped through their legs and connect is broken, but I'm going to get it anyway. No, that would be the gear that you would definitely get that would work the most efficient for you. And the other pieces, though, it's a good question, because we get asked a lot about, oh, this sounds so expensive. There's so much to gather and collect and put together. But the list of our basics, right? The first 10 things I listed, I bet you've got a bunch of that already around the house. I guarantee you. The other pieces you can gather either from friends, secondhand store, That includes even some of the clothing. You can find synthetic clothing at a secondhand store. You don't need to go purchase it fresh off the rack. So there's ways to make it work.
Great. Now we've covered a lot of stuff just in half an hour or so here. I'll bet you cover all of this and more in one of those PaddleSmart presentations. How often do you cover those, and how much time commitment are we talking to go through one of those?
We allot an hour, and that includes Q&A. So we hang out with you every Thursday as we rotate through our curriculum from 7 to 8 Pacific Standard Time, and we'll do our presentation easily within 45 minutes, and then we open up the Q&A, and people can ask us questions because they always have some great questions that we haven't heard before. So yeah, easily wrapped up in an hour.
Isn't it amazing how you think you've covered a topic and somebody comes up with a question that nobody's asked you before?
Yeah, it's 18 years later, and they still can throw you for a loop, right?
So what I'm hearing is if you're wrapped up Thursday night by 8 o'clock or so, you can direct them over to Caching in the Northwest at 9.
Oh, like that. No problem. Easy segue. Easy segue.
Fantastic.
What a great place to be on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
As long as you don't like the internet working, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's true. Now, Sandra, you mentioned a couple of times that you should put things in a dry bag. Can you give us a few examples of what a good dry bag is? I mean, I don't think we're talking just your normal bag you're going to get from a grocery store.
No. So we're not just using the grocery bag. No. So the dry bag is that would be kind of that specialty item, I guess you would seek out more than anything else. We talked about trying to find things that reuse it. We talked about borrowing gear, looking through the cupboards to find what you can, but that dry bag is a specialty piece of gear that will easily keep your gear dry. I put my cell phone in there. We put our radio in there, lunch, whatever I need, 100% to stay dry. If I go kayaking, and I can strap it to the top of the kayak. And as I'm paddling and the water's dripping off of my paddle, I'm not worried about what's in there, or if it's stuck underneath by my feet or in the back hatch. Water will get in there somewhere. It's just going to happen. So I know that that's a piece that I might invest a little bit more in. They seal up, they close up, nice, snapped, easy, and they're really tough pieces of gear and worth their weight in gold. If that's the activity you choose to do, so you kind of invest a little bit more in a few things here and there if this is what you love to do.
Sandra, I would say that even a good dry bag isn't a huge investment, considering the value that you get from it. I got my first dry bag about maybe 20 plus years ago, and it was pretty pricey back then. But now it's a fraction of the price to get equivalent quality dry bags. They're just so many more people are getting into the gear of the sports that it's easier to get. There's more available, so the prices are down. It's not a specialty item so much anymore. And yeah, I would say like you go to Mountain Equipment Co-op, REI in the States, any sports outfitter, Valhalla Pure up here in the Valley, they all will have a great selection at reasonable prices of key things that you need, like a dry bag. And that's a great example because that's a fantastic place to start.
Yeah.
Is with a dry bag.
Even if you're just camping on land, it rains around here once in a while, and keep your stuff in the dry bag. You don't have to worry about it.
Even in the cold, in the snow, right? You're going to get stuff wet there too. So around here, there's several different secondhand sports shops, right? So the one I think of is Play It Again Sports, right? Their equipment is all in good shape, fraction of the cost of new. And if you want to get in and try, you can get the gear at a decent price. If you don't like it, you could probably take it back and resell it to them. Or if you do like it, you can say, you know what, I need to spend a little more money to get a more comfortable life vest, or I need a little bigger dry bag, or I need this or that, right? But it gives you a chance to explore, see if you like it, and then go from there. So
excellent.
Test the waters, if you will.
There you go.
Oh, good.
Literally and figuratively. There you go.
Well said.
Sandra, we want to thank you, of course, for coming back to the podcast and being able to discuss PaddleSmart with us. It's a very exciting program. Looking forward to attending that. if our listeners want to learn more about the PaddleSmart presentation or any of the AdventureSmart activities, where should they start?
Well, all of our programs are listed at adventuresmart.ca, and anywhere in Canada, if you wanted to book one of those presentations, you can choose whichever one you like, and it will go to that provincial or territorial coordinator. I'm the one for British Columbia. And so if you pick the PaddleSmart program in BC and you wanted it specifically for your group, that request comes to me, and I'll try to find a volunteer outdoor educator to deliver it for you, or I'll suggest maybe one of our weekly webinars coming up. So that's an easy way to do it. Also, the ones that we have scheduled here in BC, and anyone can join us from anywhere in the world, they're all listed at our BC Adventure Smart Facebook events page. So that's at BC ADV Smart. And that's for Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. But all of our events there are on Facebook for BC, and easy to find. All need registration. But again, they're free, and the details are there, and we'd love to have you join us.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope you stay around. We've got another little bit we call At Last, and then we jump into the after show. So, folks,
thanks again, everyone.
Oh, you're very welcome. Folks, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest. And I want to take a moment to thank Landsharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our corporate Denali level sponsors. You know, Landsharks is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. You can check them out online, and they ship orders daily. That means every day. So also, don't forget, for amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com.
There you go. And of course, as always, we want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters, Landsharks, Gold Country Geo Tour, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, and Cachely, the geocaching app. If you want to know more about supporting this show, click that Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website.
Just like Tick Magnet did.
Broncos fan for life.
And Seaback Tribe.
And Teus.
T. Sayer.
Kid Vegas 19.
GeoNav Pros.
Sege Hove.
Peach of Washington.
Hacker Doc.
Logwork, not of Washington.
Genies.
UDAC.
Kennel Barb.
Trexer Zero, who was in the chat tonight.
As was the Camp Clan.
Wino Seattle, who I didn't see in the chat tonight.
You Talks to Rocks.
CRS 98.
Fairwood West.
Keats 94.
Limax.
3 Hams. And a Rose.
Just finding our way.
On a boat.
MC3 Cats.
Boomer 365.
Team Noltex.
Al Robrick.
Greenwords.
Kev MacD.
The Geo Travelers.
GSM ×2.
Sprouter.
Subaway Mark.
B Pendragon.
Donners.
M Nerve.
Dora Moore.
Wet Coaster.
Ooh, it's my turn this week. Ari, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
LG 9000.
Thank
There
you
you
to
go.
all of them.
Well played, Chris.
Thanks, patrons. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Sandra, for coming back and putting up with all three of us goofballs again. We love having you here. We learn so much
Anytime.
every time. Once again, if people wanted to get in touch with you, you've said it before, but how can they reach you best?
It's easy. You can go to Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at BCADV You can also go to AdventureSmart.ca and choose any of the programs, and that will come to me in British Columbia or any of the other coordinators. And there's easy ways to find us on our social. You can just DM us and say, "Hey, Sandra, can you help me out with this?" And we're here to help out.
Perfect. That's awesome. And for the threes of us, that's Chris of the Northwest, Land Monkey, and the Wits End. You can find us also on social media. You can find us at cachingandw.com/hosts and find out all kinds of interesting and maybe boring information, but you be the judge. Go check it out.
And folks, it's time for our newest segment, At Last. Last, listeners ask some things, and now we get to answer. If you would like to ask some things, you can call into 253-693-TFTC or email your questions to feedback@cachingnw.com. Okay, the question tonight, if you could gain one superpower, what would it be? Land Monkey, you're going to start with you. Oh, he's gone.
Visibility.
Oh,
I don't
that
know.
wasn't subtle at all.
No, it was if you were listening to the audio version.
That's right.
No, I knew I could do that, so I thought I would mess with that. Actually, no, it wouldn't be invisibility. I think gain one superpower, control electricity. I think that would be the superpower I would want.
Nice. Sandra, what about you? One superpower.
One superpower, I think I would like to be able to know when someone's needing help and able just to snap our fingers and that help would arrive for them, no matter where they are. If it's someone who needs search and rescue or our children or family or someone you don't even know, you would just have that innate,
Mm-hmm.
and off we go. Isn't that like Superman? Isn't that what Superman does in Wonder Woman? Don't they just like
your
this
spidey
feeling
senses?
And they get this spidey senses go, and they're like, "I'm going to help."
Superman has super hearing, but I don't know if he has super hearing. How can you pick out one voice among the millions of the world, the billions of the world? He's Superman. That's
super selectivity.
Yes, it's his selective availability.
Yeah. Which one would I have to give up?
Nicely played.
I
was gonna say, Sandra, your choice of superpower was much less selfless, or much more selfless, much more selfless than mine was. Mine was totally about me. All the things I would do.
I was going to agree with Keats. Mine would be flying, right? What big deal? I mean, I'm not saving people. Oops, invisibility is creepy.
I concur.
GSM times 2 says your fingers would wear out quickly, though.
They would. They would. Unfortunately, yes, they would.
True.
And Wits End? We'll end with you, my friend.
Invisibility is easy. I achieve that every time I walk into a public restroom and frantically wave my hands under the faucet trying to get it to turn on. And I just believe that I've achieved that invisibility because it just doesn't come on. No, this question of all the at last questions, this one's easy because I've thought about this a lot. And every time somebody's asked me about a superpower, I have the same answer. I would love to have the power of complete and total language fluency. Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to communicate with anybody, anywhere, at any time, and know what they were, talking about, understand what it? Because my little rant about the term social distancing, not healthy. Physical distancing, I can get on board with that when conditions are appropriate for health and safety. But we don't need to be socially distanced. We need each other. We need to connect with each other, and language can be a big barrier to that. I would love to be fluent. Languages fascinate me.
Very cool.
Wow.
Interesting diversity in answers, that's for sure.
Yeah, really. I mean, I feel shellfish now.
Ooh, now I want crab.
Time to climb up.
Dun, dun. Hey, folks, thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. Call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask us a question, or help us out with that canoe any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Come on, you want to. And you can support this show. And your support helps keep the quality shows coming. So if you like it, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. This show's brought to you by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2021 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
We made it to the after show. I
Jay,
only hit the springs on my stand once.
is that Jay Stroke, you said? Is that, no?
I did. Yes, you were listening.
Jay Stroke, that's who the other thing. He's sitting next to you down there.
Yeah, not when Jay has a stroke. That's not.
Oh,
good.
that's not good.
Oh,
No. That's not what I meant.
That's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
No, we're talking about the
Yep.
canoeing move.
let's
The
see.
way
We
you
have-
control a canoe when it's just you. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
I don't know how you would manage a canoe without the J stroke when you're by yourself.
We'll throttle up. Just
Yeah,
Push-
I
yeah.
suppose with
Yeah.
a motor, yeah.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
oh, okay.
So Monkey Cake shared in hashtag podcast baking. In case you didn't know, Sandra, for some reason, people love to bake during this show. And her podcast baking this afternoon and evening is Aussie meat pies for dinner. And now we're eating puff pastries with cheesecake and homemade mixed berry filling.
You know, we
How
need to
is that
do.
helpful right now?
I don't know. And my question is how come I wasn't invited over earlier?
I was gonna say we need to do a live show from the Camp Clans. abode
Yes.
sometime.
Yes, we do. GSM times 2 wants to know if Keats94 can update us on the Trans-Canadian Adventure or Trans-Canada Adventure series. And he actually replies and says, we're in the process of reaching out to geocaching associations and eventually tourism agencies. We've already brought on some provincial coordinators looking for more.
Cool. Well, Keats, let us know which provinces you are looking for coordinators from. We'll see how we can get the word out.
Well, he's reaching out to El Nimrod to see if he can represent PEI on the TCH Adventure Lab.
Oh,
You know,
I see.
That's almost the far end.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's almost the beginning for other people. Yeah, very cool.
Let's see. CRS 98 has, if you want to see an example of a paddle cache gone wrong, he has a link here. I
Okay.
don't know if I want to show that.
It's a log, so maybe that could be a glow someday.
Oh, that's
I
a
think
log.
so.
Yeah, okay.
Good choice.
I'm gonna have
We'll
to
do
go
that.
find that. And of course, Keats 94 says a brand new episode of Keats 94's geocaching adventure goes live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Essential Ashcroft. I was up there to help Zeppelin 94 fix a boat, but we did some caching too.
Would that be an airship?
Oh, with the Zeppelin.
Yeah.
There you go. I was going to say, what are you guys doing in Ashcroft? But all right, we'll leave that for another time.
Well, you can find out tomorrow, 10 a.m.
There you go.
Oh, that's right.
Very good. Very good.
Very good. Once again, Sandra, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. It was nice to talk paddling.
It was great to see you. Wonderful to speak with you about about this topic. And I think you made a good point earlier as well about it's not just canoes and kayaks, which everybody assumes, but that includes SUPs. They are a paddle watercraft, and all these same rules apply. So
They do, and there's a misunderstanding out there that anything applies to supping, and that they think they can just go without anything else, but it's not the case. Nope. Transport Canada, I want you to do a few things. So yeah, I'm glad I brought it up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I see rentals of SUPs right near the, populated areas at the beaches and such, and people just jump in and go. And it's like, no, you can't quite do that. So, hey, folks, thank you for joining us. And until next week, get out and get paddling in the Northwest.